We're back, guys. It's been an off season. The Fantastic Four is here because draft day is coming up, and we needed some time to get off of over our depression from a crappy season. 2024 was a bad season. Let's just admit it. Jose Martinez, Jeff Brown, Nick Schwartz, and me, Tony Castanera, we're back. And what are we talking about? Draft day, as if it's really going to help this team. Before we start
the draft, it's the general manager that's going to help the team.
Yep, that's something we're going to talk about. Trust me. I just want to point out a couple of things before we start talking about this draft. I got a guy sent over me all kinds of statistics, the different ratings for line and defense and all this stuff like that. Miami was 28th in pass blocking, 26th in run blocking.
So they've improved.
Okay.
But steady.
When it comes to salaries for offensive linemen, the Dolphins are 27th in the league. So they don't pay anybody for to block for this team. We lost the only good lineman was Teron Armstead. He's gone.
Yeah, well, he retired.
Yeah, he retired. Okay. Apparently, some guy named Patrick Paul is penciled in to take over for him. He was only 68th in passing for tackles in block rating. 31% is short yardage conversion rate, and to me, the worst stat of all, Miami was number 1 in offensive holding.
Well,
the highest penalties of any NFL team since 2019. 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Okay. So help me, if the Dolphins draft somebody whose weight doesn't start with a 3, I'm giving up with this team.
They're ready for a defensive tackle.
Maybe a defensive tackle I can live with.
They're going to get a corner. First pick is going to be a corner.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yes. Jose, talk. I'm just going to sit here, drink my coffee and pretend I can't hunt you down.
It has to be.
It's what's going to happen because, you know, I'm telling you, Grier thinks that we need right now in his head. The biggest thing in his head is right now is a shutdown corner, right? Getting rid of Ramsey. We got nobody on the other side, right? The number one need is defense on the. But we need to be able to shut down the number 1 wide receiver. If we can't do that, there's no need to even field the team.
Any names you can think of?
No, absolutely not. Right. Whoever's number 1 on the board.
Will Johnson.
For cornerback, you just go ahead and pick that guy.
Well, I'm just going to throw this name out there because I was looking at Sports Illustrated and some other mock drafts. Everybody keeps on talking about a guy named Jadade Barron, a cornerback from Texas. Anybody ever hear of him?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Nick, what do you think? Defensive back? You think they're really going to pick a defensive back?
Well, if Ramsey's out the door, we don't have a 1 or a 2. You have to have a 1 or a 2.
Oh.
You know, are you going to march Kohu out there as the number 1 and then Artie Burns behind him? That makes no sense. If you don't address it in the first round, you have to do it in the second round. It's just my stance. And I would just go out, get Will Johnson. Maybe you can get a Malachi Starks from Georgia, capable of playing DB, but more of a safety.
Well, why are we getting rid of Ramsey? Isn't that going to make a huge cap hit on us there?
Yeah.
Oh, we eat some of that for sure.
And how are they going to get rid of Ramsey? With that contract they signed him to last year? Nobody wants that contract.
And
he's going to still be on the team. That's a smoke screen they're putting up.
I mean, it's who's going to put up. First off, for what the Dolphins are probably going to be asking for, an all-pro defensive back. What are you going to get? A 2nd or 3rd round pick, and who's going to give that up? And then also taking that contract he has. All right, and it's not like he's been playing for 8 years. It's not like he's like got a big future ahead of him in the NFL. He's got maybe 1 or 2 good years left as a D-back. How many D-backs?
And he's a head case.
Yeah. How many D-backs do you know
He
play past?
He can become a problem in the locker room for sure.
Not going to matter. It's not going to matter. We're going to be at the games, and we're going to have our tailgates, and we're going to the game. It's going to be all discombobulated. We're not going to have no offense. We're going to be able to run the ball. It doesn't matter what rookies we get, right? It doesn't matter. We can hit on every single one of our picks. We got how many picks? We got 10 picks.
We got all their picks. All the offensive, all their picks.
We got 3 7-rounders, 2 5th-rounders, 2 4th-rounders, a 3rd, a 2nd, and a 1st. Right? We got 10 picks. We could hit all 10 picks, and we still need people.
Yep. That's the thing. I was looking. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
They said this week. They said that it's no longer a win now strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That win now strategy?
It's no longer win now. We're back into rebuild stage.
Was it even a win now strategy, or was it we're going to throw all our money at 5 guys?
No longer win now.
Yeah, I was looking. I don't have it in front of me. There was some ridiculous number for Grier and draft picks, because usually, one of the ways to tell if you're good at picking draft picks is if the players you drafted, you re-sign them after their first contract's up because they're so good you want to keep them. The Dolphins are next to last in that. All right, we lose all of our draft picks because nobody wants to stay, or they weren't good enough to get paid. That's to me, it's the whole thing is, if I was an NFL player and you're thinking, where would you like to play? You go, well, you can play in Miami. Fun town, right? Florida, no income tax, no state income tax. Okay. I mean, you think players would be running to come play in Miami? Nobody wants to play in Miami anymore because they look at
I think they did a survey, and all the players said that Miami's the #1 place to play.
Yeah, but then they don't sign a contract and they don't come. They want to play. They don't want to live here and deal with the team. Okay. Guys, this team hasn't won a playoff game in this millennia.
No.
Okay.
Well, I look at it as an example is Christian Wilkins. Okay. He was a 1st-round draft pick. He was a great player, team leader. Into his first contract, they let him go. Okay. Then we were all panicking. What are we going to do? We lost Christian Wilkins. We brought in Calais Campbell. The guy was better than Christian Wilkins. Had an unbelievable season. I thought, okay, great, we're set. He's gone. They let him go,
and they signed him.
They let him go cheap.
Yeah,
they should have picked up his contract and kept him.
And they signed him to a 1-year for nothing deal.
Yeah, and so it all comes down to Chris Grier, and I know you guys want him fired now. And there's a lot of people that want him fired now, but the truth is he's not going to be fired now.
No, he can't be fired now.
I say, he's going to have this draft and he's going to have this season, but if this team does not go to the playoffs, and not just go to the playoffs, but win a playoff game, then I am going to jump on board with you guys and say that Chris Grier needs to be fired. Now, my issue with it is, I don't want to jump out of the frying pan and into the fire. We first have to have somebody that they know is going to be better than Grier.
Nick.
Because there's a lot of guys that are worse.
Nick by himself would
Nick is the guy.
Philadelphia.
We got a guy.
There you go. The thing is, Greer's not going to be fired now. You can't, because they're about to have the draft. Can't do that. He's not going to be fired after this season either, because he went out there a few days ago and said that we're pretty much in a rebuilding. And he's not going to say that unless the boss said it was okay to say that.
Right.
All right. So if the Dolphins are rebuilding and they come in last in the AFC East, which right now it looks like they are, why would the boss fire him then for doing exactly what he told him to say? Grier, I joked about it before, but now I'm serious. I believe Grier has some incriminating photos of Stephen Ross somewhere, or some
Got him
type
in
of
Russia
evidence.
being peed on by a prostitute, I
Yeah,
guess.
or something like that.
That was about a shady
And
business deal.
and this is really going to hurt you guys. But as long as that stadium is sold out, Stephen Ross says, what does he care? He's making his money. If he spends more money and gets a team and wins a playoff game or two, he's still going to get the same amount of money because that stadium's sold out every week.
And you know what's interesting about that whole thing, Tony, is for the Dolphin Stadium or for Hard Rock, all you have to do is sell out half of it. The other half, the other team will fill.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you got the Raiders, you got the Packers, if you got the Cowboys, even the Jets and everybody else in the East, when they come to Miami, it seems like they're there too. Pittsburgh, doesn't matter. Everybody wants to come to Miami for a little weekend vacation, right? That's a big deal.
I do too. I want to go to Miami for a weekend vacation.
Right?
I want to go to a playoff game.
Yeah, a home playoff game, right? How long has Chris Grier been the general manager of the Miami Dolphins?
How long has the Miami Dolphins sucked?
I think
he's had plenty of time to rebuild this team. The rebuild time is over. This is win now. I don't care what he says.
He's been GM for over 10 years.
If they do not win a playoff game this year, then there's going to be a giant fan revolt. It's going to be bad. He needs to be fired. If they can make the playoffs, win a playoff game, then okay, he stays. But if he can't win a playoff game this season, then he's got to go.
All right, so this is the way they look at it. He's 55. He was a scout in 2000. He climbed up to the front office. By 2016, he was a general manager.
Yeah.
He's been to the postseason 3 times out of 9 seasons, and he's lost all 3 of them.
So he's going into his 10th season.
Going to the 10th season now.
Yeah. Throws the blame to everybody else.
And is made the playoffs once and didn't win that game.
Didn't win it. No. It's
who's out there? Who is out there that's better than Chris Grier? You had Mike Tannenbaum. He was terrible. You had the guy that who was the other? Chris somebody.
The first thing they got to do is don't hire anybody from this organization.
No.
Go outside.
Yes.
Okay. Look at Kansas City. Look at Philadelphia. Look who are number 2 over there. Somebody from a team that has a winning tradition.
Success.
Philly, Kansas City, Baltimore, teams like that. Get their number 2. That's what a lot of teams do in baseball. That's what you do. You want teams winning all the games. You hired a second guy to be your general manager.
Mm-hmm.
You bring him in, and you give him a few years and let him do it. Let's let Grier.
Get back to the draft. Let's get back to the draft. What I wanted to talk about was the college.
Which one?
You were going to say sometime?
Well, I was going to say, Jeff. Who would you pay if you're Chris Grier? Okay, you hid your bozo nose. You put that away for now. You actually care about the Dolphins and actually learn a little bit about football. Who would be your pick? Who would you be going for?
Well, I don't have any players in mind because I don't really keep up with the draft, the college players, all the workouts and all those things, and the draft boards, and it's just too many players. Mm-hmm. But what I wanted to talk about was the college system that they have in place now, where they're letting players sign contracts with outside companies, where they call it the NIL contract, the name, image, likeness contract.
Good for them.
Where somebody like Nike can come in and sign a quarterback and pay them millions of dollars while they're still in college. Meanwhile, the rest of the team goes without money. But what's happening, I think, now is a lot of the colleges are signing TV deals, contracts, and they're starting to pay the players. So it's not like it was where the players couldn't afford to eat while the colleges were making billions of dollars in TV contracts and stuff. So it's become a little more fair. but I think that maybe it needs to look more like the NFL as far as revenue sharing. So we can put colleges on even, on an even scale there, because, a team like Alabama and University of Miami right now is on the way up, and it's because of these contracts and that they're able to pay these players to come in, and there's a lot of money in Miami. So the Hurricanes are going to have a really good year this year, and it's mostly because of this contract deal. So I think there should be some parity.
Yeah.
There should be some revenue sharing.
There was no parity before, though. That's what I think there's like an intermittent step here that we're kind of going through. But in the end, I think it'll all figure its way out. Right now, if you're at college, you need to start working the transfer portal. You need to start figuring out that you should have a whole crew that all they do is work the transfer portal. If you're not doing that, you're missing out, because that's the name of the game now. And the players are starting to trend away from the NFL, because some of these players, like some of the good quarterbacks, some of the wide receivers, can make more money in college than they can through their rookie contract. Right.
Well, that's why we're seeing less juniors. We see more seniors and less juniors. They're going to stay in school and finish.
I think that happens to be the case for the Miami quarterback that came from like Georgia. Right. I think that happens to be the case where he's like, I'm just going back to college because I get $5 million.
Right? Well, there's that guy from Tennessee who was getting $2 million. He wanted $4 million, and Tennessee said goodbye.
Right.
He has an idiot for a manager, his father, unfortunately. He's not going to get the $4 million. But this guy also knew, hey, he's a good college quarterback. He's not going to be a great pro quarterback. He doesn't have the build for it. He doesn't have the arm for it. He's a good, there's some quarterbacks who are just good college quarterbacks. Speaking of University of Miami, remember Walsh, Steve Walsh? Yeah. The man won a Heisman. Yeah, he was never.
Tim Tebow might have been the greatest college quarterback of all time.
Yeah, he just couldn't cut it in the NFL. A lot of guys are great in college players. And I used to be one of these guys. Well, they got a free college education. They don't need money. Why are we paying them? And then I remember, you guys remember a guy named Alonzo Highsmith?
Yeah.
Played for University of Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
College running back. Guy was incredible.
Was the best.
He had one of the best college careers. The Hurricanes go to the national championship game. They're winning the national championship game with about a couple minutes left in the game. He blew out his knee big time. He went from literally a first-round draft pick to signing as a free agent and never making it anywhere in the NFL. Okay. He lost literally millions and millions of dollars on one stupid play that didn't matter to anybody.
Yep.
Right. And so it was like, Jesus Christ, he got nothing.
Yep.
Nothing after all that stuff. He got he got his physical education degree from the University of Miami because, God forbid, one of the players actually study something useful. And to me, it's like, if a player wants to if they want to pay some guy to pay for University of Miami, more power to him, And quarterbacks are going to make more money than the other players, but they also make that more money in the NFL.
Yeah, it's the new name of the game. Yeah.
But look at it. The top 10 highest paid quarterbacks, I don't think any of them have a Super Bowl outside of Jalen Hurts.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. But but you look at
the quarterback does what to you?
It drains you.
But you look at a quarterback, how much they make in the NFL. You think of the average quarterback in the NFL, what they make, and what's a good all-pro offensive lineman make? Nothing compared to what they make.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them. So anyway, back to the draft.
Yeah, but then you decide, hey, I got to give this quarterback $50 million. Yeah, right. And it's and it's like, man, I mean, if we had some offensive linemen,
I'd rather have a Baker Mayfield in the middle of the pack.
And I have to think, Tony, that the first pick out of the draft is like the number one offensive tackle available, because if you're the Miami Dolphins,
that's what I would do.
You have to protect Tua, because you have to know you got a glass jaw back there. It has to be. I don't know if it's going to be, and history typically proves that it's the cornerback when we're in most need, right? And that's the way Grier usually goes. But I agree. I think if you're not picking an offensive tackle, you're losing, man.
Yeah,
It's not going to be good. We need a couple of those in the 7th round. If we're going to go pick up some gems, right? We need to pick up some good offensive linemen in this draft. If it doesn't happen, then
I've looked at some of the top names for offensive linemen. You have Will Campbell, you have Armand Membu. Some people say Dolphins might go him. He's a tackle from Missouri. I have to check to see which one's been injured the most because that's the one Grier will probably pick.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
Because that's what he does also.
yeah.
this is gonna be the one.
I've been in this offseason. I started listening the last few weeks to talk radio in Miami, sports talk radio. It's really, oh God, it's painful to listen to some of these guys because most of the time they're talking basketball anyway, and I can't stand basketball. But when they do talk Dolphins, it's everybody is on board that Chris Grier's got to go. Even the radio station that carry, I think it's 940 that carries the Dolphin games, they're even saying, some of their guys are saying he's got to go. Then I started listening to the national guys. I was listening to Colin Cowherd, one of the biggest guys on the radio when it comes to sports talk. He was like going, what's the Dolphin philosophy? Certain teams have philosophy.
Yeah.
The great teams, what Kansas City's going to do out there.
The steel curtain, right? It's like,
yeah, but how Philly's going to work and what they want to do. You know what Kansas City's going to do. You know what Baltimore wants to do. What does Miami want to do?
Just go get guys.
Yeah, hey, we were a running game, right? We were a running game, and then we got Marino, and then we were a passing game, and then we lost our identity.
Yeah,
you want $30 million a year? You want $30 million a year?
Right. It was hey, we delivered everything ground, and then we decided to do airmail, and after that we lost our identity, and it's been like that ever since, and nobody has really grounded the Dolphins and said, you know what, this is our philosophy, this is our new culture. I think they tried to do it with this new coach, and I don't think it's working. It's definitely not about hard work and results. That's for sure.
Look, I'll say year one though, with Tyreek Hill and the whole speed thing, it looked like it was going to work out, but you need.
Well, they abandoned that whole philosophy. I mean, and there was really no reason to abandon it until it was stopped.
Well, there was a good reason to abandon it because the other teams figured it out, and the last half of that, in the beginning of the season they were beating Denver by 70 points, but at the end of the season, the Dolphins couldn't move the ball. Okay. Last year, Tua gets hurt. No surprise. How can you have a guy where there's a good chance he's going to get hurt? And who did Grier have as the backup quarterback? If he'd have had even a mediocre backup quarterback where the Dolphins they could have easily won one or two of those games without Tua with a mediocre quarterback, a ball control quarterback. Yeah. The Dolphins would have made the playoffs, but they didn't because they had nobody.
Yeah, Tim Boyle.
Nobody.
All right. I mean, Nick was warming up his shoulder.
It was. Let's keep the lefty going. It's left-handed. Keep it going.
And they had nobody.
And I know everybody's bashing on Grier. I'm bashing on Grier, but I'm going to be one of these guys who say, "Hey, McDaniels, I'm not. He's
good offensive coordinator.
You're nice.
Impress me, okay?
Yeah.
Last year, the end of the season, they had to win that last game. They had to win that last game for any chance of making the playoffs, and they were playing the Jets. And they stunk up the joint. He couldn't get that team up. Tyreek Hill quits in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's a leadership thing. That I'm not going to pin on Grier. I'm going to pin that on McDaniels. All right, so I'm going to say the draft is a week from today. Is next week. I'm going to wait till after this draft to lock in. But right now, if you ask me where the Dolphins are going to finish, last the AFC East.
I'd say 9-8 would be, holy crap, we did great.
That would be the worst thing for the Miami Dolphins to do.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I would rather them, if they're going to make the playoffs, make the playoffs, do something there. But if not, I want 1-16. I want
number one draft pick.
Yeah, I want a high draft pick.
The Dolphins are on the clock.
What do you mean? So we can get a guy and then not sign him again?
So what's our draft order? What's our order of needs? You say offensive line first.
Offensive line, defensive line.
Yeah.
You have a good defensive line. Cornerback isn't that important.
Yeah. Plus, we need someone next to what's his name, Seiler, right? We need somebody next to him. We need to keep that guy off double teams.
You
right?
need offensive line help. You need defensive line help, and you need depth in the offensive line and defensive line also.
Yes.
Well, we need secondary help. We don't have it safety.
No safety.
We've got one cornerback. I think it's going to go offensive line, and then we're going to spend a couple of rounds picking up defensive backs. And then to finish it out, we'll go back and try to build up the line, get a linebacker maybe.
Unless we trade our future away, we have no chance this year. All we have is hope.
If we draft an edge rusher, I will lose it.
Yeah, we have plenty of
I
those.
will lose it.
Or
In those first 4 rounds, if an edge rusher goes off the board to Miami, I'm going to flip out.
2 tight ends in this draft would really just,
We have 3. There's only 2 edges.
Right. 2 tight ends would kill me right about
God. Remember Chicago Cubs fan before they won the Super Bowl, how obnoxious they were for wallowing in their sorrow
yeah.
and their feet.
Now
I understand.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
Yep.
There are children, people who have been born, gone to school, gone and graduated college, got married and have kids who have not seen a Dolphins playoff win.
Yeah. The only thing we got going for ourselves is, and I got to be honest, at least Ross is trying. And there are some quality players here, enough to be able to win over the last few years. And it's not like, for 20 years we've been 1-16, right? It's just we can't get over the hump. It's like we're always middle of the pack.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys this. You say we quality players.
Right.
The last 15 years.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Tyreek Hill. Name me a player that you're going to tell your grandchildren about. Oh, man, you should have seen him play. He was
Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill was awesome.
He's
And
a wide receiver.
I can't tell you. I can't remember.
Yeah, I liked his wife because she was hot and she carried guns in her car. But, but there's just no, I mean, there's Tyreek Hill.
Reggie Bush.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nobody can, we talk about the Marinos, the Zonkas, the players are like amazing. Even some from 20 years ago, the Zach Thomas and players like that. The last 10, 50 years, there's been nobody.
Cameron Wake.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah,
Cameron Wake.
Jalen Waddle.
Waddle. Oh, come on.
The guy's back hurts more than he can play.
All right, guys, listen, we're gonna wrap this up today. Next week is the draft.
I'm thoroughly depressed. You've depressed me.
Yeah. wait till next week. After draft, we're gonna get after draft, we'll get together and we'll commiserate and we'll give. I want you to think of, let's say, the first 3 rounds. Think of who we drafted. I want thumbs up and thumbs down from all of you.
Okay.
All right. We'll just go through that thing, see how it works. And if we still hate Chris Grier, and if we're still Dolphin fans, we'll always hate Chris Grier. So I want you to guys, when this
he
gets
stole
up,
our prime years, man. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's like, when we were at our best, he stole all those years.
Oh, speaking of stealing, come on, click. You like us, follow us, subscribe to us. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Send us some questions. We don't care. We'll talk to anybody. All right. We're easy. When it comes to Dolphin podcast, we're sluts. All right.
Hey.
So Nick, Jose, Jeff, after the draft, let's make it special.
All right.
Yeah.
You guys take it easy.
All right.
Fins up.